this batch is done, so we're going to take this off and have a look at it and then strain it. When I strained this, I usually used my old t-shirts, but because I'm making so much more yogurt now, I bought this muslin cloth, and I actually got this from a baby store. I couldn't find it in any bakery shops here in Hong Kong, but with this, it's so big. I fold it and then place it over like this. Now, you don't have to strain your yogurt. It's just that I like the whey to be separate, and I can make it for other things. Once I discovered you could get rid of the whey from the yogurt. Otherwise, it's going to be a runny texture, which I'll show you. You can see some liquid at the top, and then it's just very gloopy. Just make sure it doesn't leak from the sides. If we go down, you can see it's already starting to drip. As I refine my yogurt making, I've got this down to about 4.5 hours for straining, so it's a decent enough texture because I do share this with other people, and again, it's all about preferences. Do you like it runny? Do you like it rock solid like ice cream, or do you like it halfway in between? Just wrap that up and put it away, and we'll have a look at this later. Today's video is basically showing you how I go about making my own yogurt as zero waste as possible. This came about because I eat a lot of yogurt. I eat about $100 worth of yogurt each month, and because I do the Zero Waste podcast and obviously this channel, I always look at everything I'm trying to do with a way of trying to make it as environmentally friendly as possible. So if I'm eating $100 worth of yogurt each month, that means I'm going through 8 kilos of yogurt, and those are all yogurt pots. So in the beginning, I actually just tried to buy bigger yogurt pots and then convert those yogurt pots into plant pots. But then I just thought, I'm just delaying the inevitable because I'm going to throw out those yogurt pots. Then I thought about making my own. And when it comes to a yogurt maker, you can get something really simple. In fact, you don't have to buy anything. You can just use an instant pot that has a yogurt function, or you can use an oven which has a defrost mode. But what you want to do is keep the yogurt between 30 degrees Celsius and 40 degrees Celsius, depending on the bacterial strain of the yogurt. I don't have an oven and I don't have an instant pot. I haven't bought one. So I'm just saying that because if you already have those two things, then you don't need to buy anything. I had to buy a yogurt maker. I think if you are going to buy a yogurt maker, make sure it doesn't come in plastic, as in you ferment the yogurt in plastic, because we still don't know all the side effects of using plastic when it comes to fermentation and cooking. My fermentator then is this device from Louvelli. They're not a sponsor, I just happen to be the one that I use because it comes in glass for which to ferment the yogurt in. Now, this one is actually from America, so when I go through the settings, for you Americans especially, it has 97F, 100F and 104F. Again, different strains will ferment at different temperatures. You're not going to get a lot of variability with this compared to say an Instant Pot or an oven, or even at just room temperature and just leaving it to the elements to ferment your yogurt with. But what's nice about this is that you can ferment this for up to 24 hours with the time selector. This also uses water to ferment. Let me just show you in here. So you've got the water bath right there, and it's a lot gentler. I can say that if you're a newbie, this could be really good to use. Again, if you don't have the Instant Pot or an oven. But for me, I haven't made a single bad batch. Today is a day to make a new batch. I'm going to show you how I do it, and in the process show you the amount of waste I'm creating. 2 things to note if you want to make your own. This is milk powder. You saw me buy this from the Zero Waste store. I actually don't find the taste all that good, and it sometimes can depend on the type of powder that you're using. So today I'm going to mix some of this in order to get rid of it. I'm going to mix some of this with the only milk I can find in Hong Kong that comes in glass. Everything else comes in a Tetra Pak or plastic bottle. So in terms of zero waste, it's just this plastic element that's the seal, keeping the bottle and the metal foil together. Because obviously this is recyclable, and in Hong Kong I can actually return these. This is the only waste that I'm generating. This is going to get me 2 liters. I'm going to mix 6 of these today with the equivalent of 2 of these from the milk powder in order to just use this, but it won't really make much of a difference. But the milk powder has to be boiled to 100 degrees Celsius. This can be scalded at 80 degrees, which is typical for milk that's pasteurized. And the reason why you do that is that you're going to kill off all the bad bacteria that exists inside the pasteurized milk, and when you boil this, you're killing all the bacteria in this so that the yogurt starter culture can take hold and then develop inside the milk powder. Luckily, I have 2 stovetops, so let's do this. And the water you use has to be filtered because you can't really trust tap water. Who knows what kind of contaminants could be present. As soon as you've finished bringing it to the boil, just leave it and let it rest until it gets to about between 30 to 40 degrees centigrade. With the normal pasteurized milk, what I'm doing, as I said before, is I'm scalding it. So I'm just going to bring it to about the 80 degrees mark, centigrade mark here, and then I'm going to leave it at that temperature for about 5 minutes. Compared to even one yogurt pot, this is the amount of plastic that I'm throwing away. Imagine 8 of these. This is what I was throwing away every month. And now instead of 8 of these, for every 1 of these that I'm eating, this is the amount of plastic that I'm throwing away. So it's quite a reduction. And finally, in terms of waste, nothing would beat this, but I'm limited by the fact that there's only one type of branded milk powder here, and it's in terms of taste, I can't really rely on this, and I have to use the Heirloom dairy, which is fine for in terms of taste, but it's taste versus waste. This is my current culture. In the beginning, I used yogurt from the local supermarket. That's fine, you can make yogurt to make yogurt, but what you'll find if you're trying to go zero waste is that that yogurt only lasts a certain number of batches. One, obviously you got to use by date, but if you do save some as a starter culture, you can only get about 3 or 4 generations out of it. Yeo Valley is probably the best that I've found here that can tolerate being fermented, put in the fridge, fermented, put in the fridge, and then eventually it just exhausts itself. It exhausts itself because the bacteria can't stay alive. So what you want instead is what's called an heirloom culture, and this is the current brand that I'm using at the moment. I'll put a link in the description. I've frozen this just to keep this away from moisture, and at the moment I've actually hit 4 different successive batches, so let's call it 4th generation, and I haven't seen the effects as I had done with the store-bought yogurt. So this is really good. What's clever about an heirloom culture is that if you look after it, it should theoretically live forever, and there's various strains that you can purchase. This one will ferment at 40 degrees Celsius, or as it says on the Lavelli, 104 Fahrenheit. Isn't it great that I can use Celsius and Fahrenheit for this particular thing, but when it comes to everything else, I've got to put the subtitles in because metric, imperial, can't decide on one. Other bacterial strains can actually ferment at room temperature. So we could forget about the yogurt part, so the instant part, we can forget about the oven, and we can forget about a dedicated fermenter if you've got the correct room temperature for that bacteria to grow. And all you would need to do is put a pot over just on a table, mix the milk in after you've boiled it, and with the culture, and then put a towel over it and then keep it away from the flies. That would be perfect, and that would be extremely zero waste because you're not using any electricity at all to ferment that culture. I don't have that, but that's fine. Anyway, I just wanted to let you know that certain cultures are beneficial to going zero waste. Some cultures will live longer than others, and something like this, which is a Bulgarian strain, could outlive me, and I could literally hand this to my grandkids if I ever had any kids. How much starter yogurt culture you need. This is the milk powder milk. The other milk is cooling down. Now remember, I'm adding these 2 together, so I'm creating a hybrid today. But I wouldn't normally do this. I would just use one, but I need to get rid of this because I don't like the taste. This is a bit of the yogurt from my previous batch. This is probably actually more than what I need, but I'm going to mix that in there. When you do put it in, don't whisk it, just let it be, and when you ferment it, it will grow and encapsulate the entire container. Okay, and we are back. I had to go to work, but I put the milk in, left the milk in the saucepan, which was fine, put the cover on it, and there's both the powdered milk and the Heirloom dairy milk with the yogurt starter culture all set up to now ferment. With this device, it's really simple. Just set the temperature. I'm going to go for the maximum temperature of 104 Fahrenheit or 40 Celsius, and I'm going to ferment this for 24 hours. Confirm, and we are off. For this particular device, it's silent, and I will check back with this in exactly 1 day from now. I've actually got some already prepared. Look inside my fridge, and this has already been strained. It's probably been strained for half a day, which is a little bit more than what I want, but I can't do anything about that because I've been busy today. And we're going to take a look at this. It's in two halves, and this is where it gets really interesting. Let me just put that back. Underneath, we have the Whey. In the show notes, there are some links that actually show you what you can do with this. But off the top of my head, you can water your tomato plants with this. You can make kvass with this. Women can use this as a moisturizer as well. So there's loads of things you can do with this. So don't throw this away. If you wanted to, you can actually thicken up your smoothies as well. If we look at the texture with my fork, it's almost like a soft cream cheese or very squidgy ice cream. This is the way I like it. You can obviously vary this if you want. You don't have to strain it, and you've got more volume. I've lost volume by straining this because otherwise this would all be inside it. It comes out to 726 grams. If I had strained this for a shorter amount of time, this would weigh more. But as I've said, the straining time changes the volume and obviously the density of the yogurt. And don't forget the texture. Having done all of that, that might seem like an extreme amount of effort that you might not want to go through when you just want to eat some yogurt, and maybe you're happy with the store-bought variety. Fair enough, but besides the zero waste angle, which saves me money, like I say, I was spending $100 a month. Now I'm spending around 50 to 60 US dollars a month. That's a lot of money to save, considering it's just from yogurt. Importantly, the yogurt that you make yourself is lower sugar, it's fermented for longer, so there's more healthy gut bacteria for you to digest. The store-bought varieties ferment for probably between 5, 6, 7, 8 hours, whereas mine at a minimum are 24 hours. So there's a lot more bacteria there. So you've got the saving money aspect, you've got the health aspect. Then there's the fact that you're not passive to what food you're eating. You're actually taking an active role in trying to understand how that food is made. And at the same time, you're minimizing your plastic consumption and you've got less to throw out. On top of that, you've got the Whey. I hope you found that interesting. That specifically is zero waste yogurt making. There's loads of links. I mean, I'm sure there's other videos being brought up on the suggestion sidebar on this side or this side, whatever, that will explain yogurt making in different ways. I would recommend looking at as many videos as you've got patience for. I certainly did, and that's how it came about to this solution that I'm currently employing. Some of it is constrained by the fact that I'm living in Hong Kong and there's only two varieties of milk that I can buy. The powdered milk, totally zero waste, and then the Heirloom dairy, where it's just a little bit plastic. It's a shame that we can't recycle Tetra Paks here, otherwise I'd use those. But again, there's no point in using them anyway, even though they're in a great deal, many varieties on the shelf, when what I'm trying to do is cut down on waste, not replace my waste with more waste or a different kind of waste.